following podcast is recorded and produced by the Podcast Precinct in affiliation with the network at bicbp-radio.com. The Podcast Precinct. Consistency, creativity, culture.
The Nostalgia Funhouse proudly dedicates all episodes in the loving memory of Connie Chirac. So, Johnny, I've been hearing really great things about this Nostalgia Funhouse. It just brings back so many great memories.
Andrew, the only reason I'm moving in line with you here is that you really vouched for this show. So I'm just going to believe you that this is the show that I've been wanting, which is just talking about all the fun stuff from our yesteryear and the years before. And I really hate anything meta, so I'm glad that what we're doing right now is not that.
Oh, no, definitely. What is meta? Isn't that Ron Artest's new name?
Well, add World and Peace to it, sure.
Yeah, but this is great. They, last year they were tearing play sets and Halloween costumes.
Well, that sounds cool.
They get these weird court recordings from pop culture courts.
Does anybody care about court cases?
These ones are kind of cool. They put Scott Kelvin on trial. Poor old Santa Claus there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, man. You know what's the best part about this is, though? Is I hear they always got a really great sponsor. You can check it out right there.
Far from the everyday world, there is a place where big
Congratulations, Mr. Sims. You're the fattest boy in camp.
is beautiful.
Chipmunk, download!
And thin isn't it?
This is definitely not sanitary.
For Jerry and his friends, it was a dream come true. Until the new owner
That is out of here, mister!
Oh no.
turned it into a nightmare.
Lunch has been canceled today due to lack of hustle.
Now, after 6 weeks of frustration,
Then we're gonna climb that 1,000-foot rock face over there.
starvation,
There isn't a gummy bear left in this entire camp.
and humiliation,
Nice swing, you fat tubbo.
Everyone having fun?
Jerry's out to do something far more important than lose a few pounds.
I have a plan.
He's out to gain respect.
What is going on?
You can't kidnap the owner of a camp!
Welcome to the annual Apache Relay.
We're as good as anybody. And it's about time we started acting that way.
Take him down, Cappy.
Walt Disney Pictures presents a comedy for every kid.
Tell me the artist and title, please.
Cher?
Da Vinci's Mona Lisa.
Tired of taking it.
I'm so slow. It would have been cool to go fast.
And ready to dish it out. Heavyweights.
It's me, Johnny, and I'm here with Andrew. Andrew, man, I can't help but feel a little rumble in my tummy. I'm I'm getting kind of hungry over here.
Wait a minute. I gotta finish this letter. Hello, mother. Hello, father.
While you're doing that, I'm going to, if you could help me get this giant, comically large salami off of my back that I've taped to it.
That's not a problem.
Thanks. And after you do that, I'm going to be in the Addams Family movie. I just need you to help me do that. We're talking about the movie Heavyweights, Disney's Heavyweights. Andrew, when did this movie come out?
This movie came out February 17th, 1995. Doesn't give a budget, but it drew $17.6 million at the box office.
And here's the big shocker I think a lot of people won't know. Who's this written by?
Judd Apatow.
That's right. I would dare say in the mid 2000 teens or something like that, probably the ultimate comedy writer. He had some major hits underneath his belt, comedy wise.
We got
so it's pretty wise to see him go from this to a 40-year-old virgin.
we got some these are movies that he also produced: Cable Guy, Anchorman, Talladega Nights, Superbad, Pineapple Express, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, which I thought was pretty good, and then the rest I don't.
And Knocked Up,
Knocked
40-Year-Old
Up,
Virgin.
Funny People.
This is 40.
Yeah, The King of Staten Island was great. Trainwreck, watch it for LeBron James and John Cena and Colin.
Yeah.
Other than that, just
No. And maybe it's because I'm just a sucker for this guy, Bill Hader. I do like Bill Hader a lot.
yeah, I do, but he's in too many scenes with Amy Schumer, and it annoyed
Well,
me.
I think they were really good friends, but he wasn't in Inside Out too. I'll tell you that much. He didn't do the voice because they lowballed him on the rumor is, this is some inside baseball for Hollywood. The rumor is her contract was like in the millions, as it should be. She's the lead voice in it, but like they're going to offer him literally $100,000, which to me would be great, but for that's like nothing compared to that. And the movie's doing great, by the way.
I'll wait for
But who cares about that? I'm ready to talk about some fat kids.
Me too.
Because I relate to these kids. Being a former and current fat kid himself.
Did you see this in the theaters or anything? Or
I did not see it in the theaters, but I definitely saw it when it came out on VHS because I wanted to see this. Anytime there was like a movie about kids, I mean Sandlot, Rookie of the Year, any of those, when you're a kid, you want to see them. And especially if you know there's gonna be like, if you're a little chunky kid like I was, if you know there's gonna be a chunky kid in there, like I gotta watch this movie.
I did.
That's why, Andrew. That's why I know representation matters.
I did see this. I didn't see the movie. I remember watching like the movie trailers on TV. And the other thing I remember about this time, this is like the golden age of like the Disney kid movie.
Live action kids movies.
Yeah, before it becomes like just overwashed Disney Channel nonsense.
Yeah, as soon as they just started like doing made for TV Disney Channel movies, I quit watching them.
Yeah,
those are just not for me. I know a lot of kids, well, they're probably adults by now, grew up on those, but we're not for me. That's fine. At least everybody gets a little Disney something, I guess.
You could take a drink of Johnny Tsunami and shove it where the sun don't shine. Disney, give us good stuff. Because I did notice one thing in this that you would never see in another Disney movie. Probably the one kid's wearing a Snoop Dogg T-shirt. That's right.
Snaps! Snoop to the D-O double G.
That is correct.
One of the greatest commentators in professional wrestling history, Snoop Dogg.
He has a giant gold belt. WWE Hall of Famer.
That's right. Yeah.
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah. I definitely remember loving this as a kid, but I have not seen it in a long time. So this is the first time I'd seen it in, good God, decades, I would say.
I think I watched it a couple years back with my kids.
Okay, I'm reminding me to give a report because my little cousin was here yesterday, and I want to say he's 10, around that age, and I'm gonna give a report of what he thought, just to let you know how it relates. As like we already said, this is written by Judd Apatow.
Yep.
The gist of it is, kids at a fat camp, but a villain has taken over the camp.
Yeah. Because it all starts off all good. Jerry gets the main character, Jerry, played by, you might know him as Carp.
Oh, there's all kinds of faces you'll see in this that you will know.
Yeah. Played Carp in the Mighty Ducks. His parents kind of trick him into face camp. Who is his father? Father was even a big name guy.
Yeah, the guy from Arrested Development, but he's been in a lot of stuff. He was the dad on the
Jeffrey Torbor.
Yeah. Before that, I want to talk about, because it opens up at the kid's school.
Yeah.
And him and his, I'm assuming it's his friend, are walking. Literally, the bell had just rung for them to get out of school, and he already missed his bus home. Like, that bus took off crazy early.
The minute I saw that, I was like, are they trying to do like some Tommy Boy thing?
Then All I know is he had a terrible afternoon.
Yeah, but they're trying to establish it way over the top of
Yeah, like he couldn't throw the baseball over the fence. He could have thrown that baseball over the fence.
the dog barking at him and just him trying to run away. And if it's summertime and you're a fat kid, because we're both fat kids, we know.
Yeah.
Are you wearing a long sleeve shirt with jeans, Johnny? Are you wearing that?
I famously, especially as I got older, just wore shorts. So no, shorts all the way, my friend.
Since I've moved to Texas, that's all I pretty much wear too.
Yeah, shorts, man. We shorts it out.
It doesn't.
And I can't remember. I mean, obviously I've worn long sleeves before, but like it's almost always short sleeves.
Yeah, but he's like all just.
Well, he's in Long Island, but it's still summer, and I know it gets hot up there still.
It gets hot.
Yeah.
But he comes home, and then I love it how the camp has a sales rep that goes around shooting video, and that guy always plays the creepiest, weirdest guys. Like he's the one. He was also in Holes, and
oh yeah,
and Oh Brother Where Art Thou, and he shows him the awesome thing.
Well, I want to point out too, like just Jerry is just he never met this guy.
Yeah,
he didn't really know what everything's about, and he's just outright super aggressive at the beginning.
That's where it comes to one of the best lines in the movie. But after he watches it, and big shout out to the Stillers.
Oh yeah, they're all over this.
They're the best. They're the best. Jerry Stiller. Oh, we miss you.
Oh yeah. Rest in peace for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, and also Jerry is a self-hating fat kid. Like he just apparently hates other fat kids. Really, really. When I seek solace in him, especially if you found a fatter kid than you, like that guy is going to be awesome to you.
But he finally sells them, and then when he finds out that it's a fat camp, and he says to his father, "You're fat. You're fatter than me. Why don't you go?" And I'm like, this is great because this will never be in another movie again. It just like talks that much back to his parents.
Well, I like how they bring this up again that his dad's fat. His dad is not that fat.
No,
not the least. Because when he's on the airplane, and that's where we get to meet a certain Kenan Thompson who's also in this. And he goes, "Hey, you're going to fat camp. Why do you say that? Because you're fat. Is that your dad? Why do you say that? Because he's fat."
Yeah, he's just laying it out on the line.
And are you going to fat camp then? And he goes, "Yeah, because I'm fat."
See, he knows what's up.
Yeah,
and he brings it out too. He's like, "Listen, nobody's gonna make fun of you because we're all the fat kids at camp."
Yeah, which I don't think is true, and I'll tell you why. Fat kids will still pick on the even fatter kid.
True.
It's going to happen.
True.
Humanity will find a way to divide itself. That's one of the things we're good at for whatever reason.
And every time I see Jeffrey Tambor, I always get one phrase that plays in my head now is "There's always money in the banana stand."
Yes. Yeah, I automatically think all kinds of Arrested Development lines that he had.
There's always money in the banana stand.
Like when he talks about Michael Cera's girlfriend, is she funny?
When they get to camp, they meet the camp. What's his name? Jeez, Pat.
Pat, yes.
Pat, the camp counselor that's been there for years, and he's gone there as a kid. And guess what? He's still fat, but he's Pat.
Yeah, and he's very likable right off the bat.
Yep. And they play the little joke where, "Hey, Jerry, the new guy's got to drive, but keep it under 70. Da da da. Do you know how to drive a stick? No. Well, then I guess you can't drive."
Yeah.
And I want to know if they're portraying all these kids as fat and lazy as they do, fat, lazy, and unathletic throughout this whole entire movie. How long did it take them to get all that luggage at the top of that bus?
Oh, forever. And also, I wanted to dispel a thing here, because despite my fatness, I would still say a lot of people consider me oddly athletic despite it. So some kids, despite their size, could still quote unquote play baseballs. We'll get to later.
Yeah. It's
they're
not
not-
even baseball. That's the one thing I gotta gripe about.
Yeah, we'll get to it. It's but yeah, of course these are all fat kids. There's gonna be all kinds of food and fat jokes coming your way.
Yep. They get to camp, and that's where I asked my question towards the end of the movie. They go to the chipmunk cabin. Is the chipmunk cabin the only cabin in this whole entire thing? Because
I was thinking that too. You don't see any other kids.
No, other than that one kid, like later on, where he was like, "I was in the chipmunk cabin last year." When they
Every once in a while, you'll see like a random kid in there that you didn't see before. I noticed that too, but it would never feel like it was a full. Like whenever they would do the scenes where the quote unquote the whole camp was there for meetings and stuff like that.
Yeah,
way more than what was in that cabin. But the whole story just follows that cabin, and you never during those adventures see any other kids at all.
no, I was like, "Is that the only cabin?" But I do like we meet the other kind of main character kid, Josh. You might know him as Goldberg, the goalie from Mighty Ducks.
Side note: he did this movie because they told him if he didn't, he wouldn't be in Mighty Ducks 3. So he didn't want to do it originally, so that's why he did it.
He was good at it though, and he played Josh. And he kind of picks on Jerry in the beginning. You'd think he was going to be a bully when he did the whole captain thing.
Yeah, but he actually ended up being really cool.
Yeah.
All the kids here were great. I will say that.
This is kind of like reminds me of The Ringer, where you're like, oh, are they just going to make fun of a certain type of people, but they kind of more or less empower that type of type of people. Can I say type of? I don't even know anymore.
We are those type of people, so I think we can say it. But I mean, you're kind of going around and introducing all your main characters here, and then of course you have like everybody brings their snacks and they got their hiding places. One of the kids, all his chocolate melted, so the other kid like goes, "Oh man," and then just rubs the chocolate off that kid's stomach and eats it. And I was like, that would never happen.
No, not today, at least.
No, I don't think it would have happened then. I never would have once thought, "Oh, that's what I'm going to do." No, thank you.
Also, the other thing I found was when they were meeting before they got on the bus, I see a Dan Marino jersey.
Oh yeah.
And when they were picking on the skinny counselor, the guy that got skinny, that used to be one of them, he was wearing a Panthers jersey.
Oh yeah, he was. He most certainly was. Yeah, they
and
the three main good guy counselors were all great in this too, I thought.
Yeah. Did you
Pat, what's her name? What was the nurse's name?
The doctor.
Dr. Nurse. I don't remember her name.
Oh my goodness. They actually have a kid named Salami Sam. Samuel, it says Salami Sam. Where is she? How does she get a higher? How does Jeffrey Torbor that gets like 2 seconds in there get a higher credit than her?
Because he's a name. He's an old name.
Maybe it goes in order on how they were introduced.
She was in there. Julie. That's right. Yeah. So Julie, and then the guy who was fat but got skinny. Those three are really great. I can't wait to talk about Lars. We'll get to him soon.
I love Lars.
I do too. Lars is great.
Did you find any of those jokes that they told that skinny guy like actually funny?
I have a big reveal at the end of this review.
When they were like
that I'm going to save that has to do with that.
Then they were like, "What'd you do? Have a baby?" And I'm like, "This is horrible." Like,
it's kids trying to make jokes.
Why?
But mine would have been so much better at that age.
I was gonna say, I could have come up with some way better stuff than that. Wait, Tony? Who's Tony Hodges? He's just the guy that played Lars. Well, he's in a lot of things. But back to the thing. So they get to camp and they're like, "Oh, okay." So Jerry's like, "This isn't going to be too bad." But then tragedy happens because Tony Perkis comes in because.
Well, before he does that, we get a great performance
of what?
From Ben Stiller's dad.
Jerry, where he started.
Jerry.
Don't let anybody sign your
don't let other people sign your chest.
Sometimes you gotta file Chapter 9 bankruptcy.
He was so good. But that was the big thing. Everybody loves that old couple because they were very supportive of the group, of the camp. But now they're out, and the new guy is showing up. The new guy who's bought the camp.
Dwight Goebel. I mean, Tony Perkins.
Tony Perkins, Ben Stiller himself. Ben Stiller is great in this.
You might know him, though. You might know Tony Perkins. You might know his father as the lighting fixture in Pittsburgh, as he pointed out. And he also donated all the lighting fixtures to the camp.
Yeah, it looks nice.
I think this is where, as much as I love Jerry Stiller, villain Ben Stiller, I like better than meek and mild Ben Stiller. Like
I agree. Yeah, I feel like he has more fun when he does that too, and it kind of it really shows that he's really just having a ball, going all out, being a prick.
We quoted this movie quite a lot at work for certain things, like when they're getting the weigh-in because they're doing like the before and afters.
Yeah,
and this is where we meet Lars, kind of, and he tells the one kid, he's like, "Congratulations, you're now the fattest kid in camp."
And the kids cheer.
We used to say that to each other at work sometimes, but also during this too, when they're doing like the workout, if they're like, Tony doesn't feel like they're doing enough, we always used to tell each other, like at work, if just joking around, if one person was kind of having like an off day or something, we'd be like attention workers instead of like attention campers. We'd be like, instead of doing the attention campers, lunch is canceled today due to lack of hustle. The attention workers, lunch is canceled today due to lack of hustle. That was like one of the greatest quotes that we ever heard. But he turns it into, because he wants to sell his infomercial, and he wants to, so we got the guy from every Adam Sandler.
Well, let's not forget that he used to be a fat kid himself too.
Yes, he weighed 370 pounds.
What are my favorite under the radar lines that he says? He says, and I was basically the gist of it was, I was an only kid. And I'm looking forward to finally meeting some kids today, or something like that. Like he'd never ever been around kids ever before.
I love villain Ben Stiller. I know there's a lot of people that don't like Ben Stiller, but if you just watch his villain stuff,
yeah,
and especially this whole, when he does like a whole fitness thing, he is great.
But he kills it.
He also takes away the go-karts, he kills the blob, and he just takes away pretty much everything fun. And this is where they get into, say, like a little expedition. I can't even say it. Expedition match or softball game against camp.
Exhibition, you had it right. Exhibition match with the other camp, which is the MVP camp, is what they're called, because it's all jocks basically.
Yeah, and you're telling me there's no big guys over there that aren't jocks?
Yeah, where's the football players?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where's your NBA guys? Where's your big men in the NBA?
Yeah, they all look awfully similar to each other.
But they play slow pitch softball.
Underhanded pitch.
Well, softball.
Yeah. Underhanded pitch softball.
It really frustrated me, because I'm thinking to myself, like you mentioned, I know I'm not a super athlete, and as I gotten older, my feet have turned even more into stone, but I would have been wailing the shit out of that ball.
And on top of that, if a ball came near me, I could catch it.
Yeah, that was horrible too. And then get all happy because the one kid like fouls it off.
Yeah.
And there's no mercy.
Oh, and by the way, the one kid who does hit a home run, and I'm glad he does because it gets made fun of, and then he just creams that ball. That was not a swing that would have creamed that ball. He kind of keeps it like at mid, and he doesn't even swing up.
And who gets that hurt playing?
Like it's just a string of injuries.
Yeah,
playing softball. Yeah.
And the one kid gets hit in the head as he's leaving the infirmary. But they finally, Tony confiscates it. I love this. This was another great part of this movie where he's in like the chipmunk thing. And
Oh,
he's
yeah.
going through and he's talking to him and he's talking, I think it was to Josh or somebody. And he's like, come here, give your Uncle Tony a hug.
Yeah.
Come here. And then all of a sudden he like reaches around and he grabs like a Pez and he unloads it like it's a gun.
Yes. I love that scene. He unloads it and he's acting like he's going to catch it. He didn't catch maybe one or two out of that. And he throws it behind him to Lars. Like, what's Lars supposed to do?
Knocking on the things for salami.
Yeah.
But I loved it with the Pez, though. That was another just great scene where I was like, that is hilarious. Because it was just the way that he was like, he like pushed him back, grabbed it, opened it up, dropped everything out.
He was definitely somebody who knew his way around a Pez dispenser.
Oh, and the glide mats. I remember these from infomercials because I was like, wow, this looks pretty fun. But if you notice when they pull away, those kids are on a hill. How do you expect them to stand up straight?
Yeah.
And if anybody doesn't know what a glide mat is, during the 90s, this was a great way to exercise. You put on these little like booties and you would like slide back and forth from one side to another. I think they tried to even put it where it'd be great for hockey because you got to do the glide back and forth. But I don't think.
And he's trying to get film of this, and then he looks at the camera guy and goes, "They only get the ones who are standing up," and the camera goes wide, and not a single one of them is standing up. They all fell.
Who is it? The camera guy? Is Alan Covert. Like I said, if you've ever watched an Adam Sandler movie, he is in it.
Yeah.
That is, or you might just know him from Grandma's Boy.
Josh went during the food confiscation scene. He's kind of sort of the camp legend, really. Yeah. And all the other campers look up to him. And he stands up to Ben Stiller's character, to Tony. And he makes a joke about Seymour Butts, which is everybody knows that joke. It's been in, but that was not the original joke.
What was the original?
They actually toned it down because the original joke was a bit too racy. Let me see. I got to find it again. Give me a second. I'll find it. You keep talking about what's happening here.
All right. So, So after the joke, Uncle Tony kind of kicks Josh out of camp as well too. Like he's just not there. So they're worried about what happened to him and everything else as well. But then they also figure,
right.
Okay,
here it is. Originally, this is on IMDb. The Seymour Butts joke was supposed to be Peter Fitz, Fitz.
Yes, come on.
Josh was going to tell Tony that the chipmunk snack core belongs to Peter Fitz, and then Tony would ask, "Who's Peter Fitz?" And then Josh would say, "Anyone Peter Fitz if you push hard enough."
There was a lot of wiener jokes. Like they called him a guy with a skinny wiener at one point. I was like, what? Can't do that today. Disney Channel has definitely changed. But like I said, Josh gets kicked out and they're wondering what's going to happen to him. And then they do the dance with the girls. And by the time they actually start, the dance is like any dance in any movie when it's boys and girls with like, say, early teens. You know how that goes. One side is all boys, one side is all girls, but they finally get everybody dancing, and then Uncle Tony comes in and he shuts it down.
Oh, by the way, Pugsley, I keep calling Pugsley because that's who he was in the Addams Family movies. He scored, man. He scored. That girl and him were making out. Go Pugs.
And then all of a sudden, this is when Josh returns. And Josh looks very disheveled, looks like he's been brainwashed. But guess what? It's Josh and he's joking. And this is also coming to one of my other famous lines in the movie that I just love so much. And I'm pretty sure our friend Brian will not like this line, but our friend Matt will love this line as well as much as
I wrote this line down. I know what you're going to say.
and Josh is like, hey, listen, my dad's a lawyer. Tony said that he wouldn't give a refund, so he threatened to sue Tony. So Tony just let it. So Tony folded like the Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl. Great writing. Great. But they also find their own like little snack source. I think the skinny camp counselor is bringing it in.
Was that who it was? It was one of the.
It was somebody.
No,
but it was like
somebody's bringing it into like a tree. Like we had a secret tree trunk that they out in the woods that they could hide candy and stuff in.
Did you also find when they were like chasing the cow?
Yes.
I was like, that's a little ridiculous.
I didn't mind it because at least it was a joke. I did kind of chuckle at it, but I know it is a well over the top.
Yeah. But they also go into Tony's cabin for the confiscated snacks, and they also find out that Tony has also been not sending out their letters to their family because Jerry wrote a lovely Camp Granada letter to his.
Yeah, he basically wrote like a Civil War letter to his grandma.
Yeah. And then they discovered the food stash and leading them to gain weight. And then because of all this, they're all gaining weight. This is another funny part too, because he's like, all right, come on down. Let's go. All right. And how did you gain 5 pounds? All right, get off the scale. That's all it is over and over, and over again. But he forces them. This is where kind of the changing point forces them onto a 20-mile hike. And as somebody that's walked 20 miles, yeah, it's kind of shitty.
And it's not just walking, it's hiking.
Yeah. So they decide that they're gonna take care of good old.
Yeah, they're gonna do something about it. They're gonna do something. They're finally tired of it. And all the while, the 3 good counselors are like, well, we got to figure something out because it's obvious he's doing something illegal here because you should be treating kids this way.
Yeah. And then the cameraman's like, hey, have you seen Tony? He owes me $600. Which I don't know what $600. I know today if you can get a cameraman for $600 to film all that stuff for you, that's got to be pretty damn good. So I'm not quite sure
because he was there multiple days.
Yeah. I know Matt, when he was a photographer and he did weddings, he would charge, I think it was 800. Because it was like I remember he put up his prices one time and he put 800 for the day. And I was like, so if I give you $800, you'll just follow me around all day and take pictures. And he was like, I guess, yeah. Doesn't sound bad. Doesn't sound bad. But they capture Uncle Tony and they put him in a little makeshift cell with the bug zapper.
They capture the bad other counselors and tie them to a tree. Lars, especially, who had been kind of a prick, and he's very much not American. He's got a German accent.
Yes.
And they tie him to a tree, and they rip his shirt, and they put honey on him. This is technically attempted murder.
Yeah, I noticed there was a lot of that in here.
Yes.
But they think that they tell them that they're going to attract bears, but really there are no bears. And then all of a sudden they hear a scream, and it's just a baby deer licking the honey off of them. And then they give them an ultimatum, which is kind of another kind of crazy thing. Hey, you need a job to stay in this country. So either you can be on our side and keep your job, or you can or we can send you back to Germany. And I don't know about this point, but I don't think Germany was that bad where a guy would have been like, no, I want to stay here. It's not like,
but I do love that he becomes all in now, though. Like he totally joins them in everything they do from here on out.
Because they do the big like Lord of the Flies dance and everything else.
They have a big party where they order a lot of pizza. They do a lot of junk food. Yeah. And Pat and
Julie there.
And Julie hit it off.
Yeah.
There's one thing, like they kind of set it up where she seems sort of interested in him at the very beginning. of the meeting, and I'm not saying that us big guys can't be attractive to other people, but I will say usually it's been my experience that it's not first sight let's make out thing. It's more of, hey, he's pretty funny, and I kind of like that, and that's always how I've always hit above my my station, as they say. It's because you get to know my personality, and it helps me out a lot.
Okay, there.
But she's been kind of. I mean, even me, a guy who is really bad at picking up signals, I've noticed that she was sending some signals to Pat that whole movie.
Yeah,
and she basically had to grab his hand and hold him there and say, "Hey, without just coming out and saying it, she basically said, "Stay with me."
Yeah, she's like, "Why don't you just stay with me?" And he was like, "Oh, well, yeah." And he chose her over food ultimately because he was going to go down there and get some food there. But
well, that's just smart. I mean, it's a different kind of food.
Where do they get the money for that?
I was wondering that myself. That's a lot of pizza. There's like 40 pizzas.
The giant party like sub. And how there was like the Tony stooge that told on him and stuff like that. All of a sudden he turns on Tony, and then he just, I don't know. Like they didn't do anything with him. Like there should have been more camper stooge type stuff. But so they try and get everybody to kind of like take responsibility, and then the parents visit and they show them the Tony cruelty. And I love the one between Josh and Tony, and they're talking about the food, and Josh keeps on talking over. He's like, just wait for me to finish. And he's like, so how do you like the food? It's great. No, let me finish.
Which I felt was valid. It was a valid criticism. Like, it's very obvious what I want you to do here.
And he's like getting like so pissed off at him, and he's just keeps messing up. But that's when Tony gets out because he tempts Nicholas with candy. This is where he gets out. But don't worry, because his dad comes.
And so all the parents are here now.
Yep.
They're all think that what's been happening to their kids is awful. Oh, it's also, I want to mention real quick, when Jeffrey Timber first sees his kid, he goes, you haven't changed at all. You look exactly the same. He made that point multiple times.
You fatty, you.
Yeah.
What am I wasting my money on? Well, that's this time period, though. I mean, Will told the story about him and what his dad said to him after the hospital visit. The first thing he said to him was, "Hey, did you finish mowing the lawn?"
Yeah.
Oh, this is
I was in the hospital.
I was bleeding in the hospital. Yeah, but did you
but does that lawn have finished? Because that
do I gotta go out there, or are you gonna go back out? But this is what we meet Tony Perkins Sr., the father of Tony Perkins, the lighting fixture king.
Yeah.
And he takes him away, and he's like, "Hey, I'm sorry. I'm going to refund everybody's money," because we forgot about mention the big thing is the big Apache relay against Camp MVP that Hope has never won. And he's like, "Okay, well, if I'm going to leave one of you guys in charge,
who's been here the longest?"
And then they go through, and then
and Pat's been there 18 years, I think it was, something like that.
Yeah. Like
it's Pat.
He couldn't just say that in the beginning, and we all knew that from the beginning.
Yeah.
But under Pat's leadership, all the campers' favorite activities are restored, and they prepare to fight Camp MVP, or not fight, but in the competition. Which I don't know why. I just found this part of the movie, now that I'm rewatching it, really bland. Like,
it doesn't even get fun until the go-kart part.
Yeah, and it's like the obstacle course, and then it's a back and forth. And how did the kid in Camp MVP catch up to anybody? Because he couldn't get anything right.
How did he eventually get that first? Because the first is like an equation in the Hall of Intelligence.
Yeah,
where you have to answer like trivia questions and do a pretty complex looking math problem. And he's just throwing out random numbers.
Yeah.
So how does he eventually get it to move on?
And Nicholas is like nailing him.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's like right by Nicholas. Like,
yeah.
Like
I would
answers?
That's something I can think of, right? That's what I would do because you're answering at the same time. I'm going to listen to this kid. And
wouldn't you say you can't name his 5 because he just said it in front of you?
That's what you would think, but I don't know if that's what they did. Like, I definitely can buy the camp MVP kid catching up running wise to the other kid as he's running up because he's going to be slower and the other guy's going to be quicker. But you're right. I mean, just at that first one, which is just an equation, because by the time Nicholas got there, he'd already moved on to the second one because he wasn't there. So how did he eventually get that?
And why is the cameraman all of a sudden part of the camp too? Because he was the.
Do you notice how I guess Lars was dressed up as Albert Einstein or something like that? He had like
no, that was the cameraman.
No. Oh yeah, well Lars was there too. Who did Lars play there?
She was the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah,
Lars was Andy Warhol.
Yes, and he was like he had his face painted white.
Yeah, he was Andy Warhol.
Yeah, because he did the paintings. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because the cameraman, when the kid was like, he said 9, like saying no in German. The kid from Camp MVP was like, the answer is 9. He's like, no, that's no in German. 9 is no in German. But yeah, and then they get to the go-kart, which just seemed to be really dragged on. Like Pat shows Jerry the go-kart, which maybe because I'm older, as a kid looked super cool. As an adult, I'm like, they just threw a whole bunch of stuff. Just
yeah. I didn't love this part as a kid though. All right, so they set up that the kid that he's going against is a dirty driver.
Yeah.
So I was wanting to pay attention to that. I'm not going to sit here and say that he wasn't aggressive because he was obviously aggressive.
Hey, Johnny.
Yes, sir.
Rubbing is racing.
That's what I was about to say.
Okay.
I was leaning that way. I don't think he was all that bad.
No, he's not. He didn't. He kind of knocked him off course, but then he got.
Yeah, but he didn't have like a try to like pop his tire with a screwdriver or anything like that. He was literally used his go-kart to knock him around.
It wasn't the race in Little Rascals, which I thought was
a
better race and a dirtier race where they changed direction. They did
the
thing in Little Rascals.
I do like how to win Jerry literally jumps over him. That was a cool part. That part was very cool. But yeah, and also there's one part where they have to drive across a wooden bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And they have like a camera shot of like the front wheel of one of them, and that wheel's going all over the place. I don't know how he didn't fall off that bridge.
I wonder if he did it. They just had to reshoot it.
Yeah.
But they beat Camp MVP. Julie gives Pat a kiss.
They throw the trophy into the water.
Yeah,
because it's not important to them.
Camp Hope celebrates their victory. Jerry thanks Pat for the best summer, and I didn't know there was a post-credit scene in this movie.
Yeah, it's it's of Tony.
I've never seen it. Because like I said, after rewatching this, like the relay just didn't seem fun to me anymore.
This was one of the movies that I remember being the first time I remember seeing like an after credits actual scene that really stuck with me. Because it's Tony giving in to his demons.
Like as a kid, I liked the whole movie. Like now we're done with it. As a kid, I liked the whole movie. But as an adult, I feel once Tony leaves, I could just end it.
The whole it should have ended like 15 minutes sooner. I agree completely. My note here, this is my big reveal I was going to bring up. This movie is not near as funny as I remember it being as a kid.
Yeah, there's only a couple. And I think Ben Stiller, as like I said, as an adult, carries this movie more.
Yes. Here's the thing. I am not sensitive to fat jokes. If they're funny, I will love a fat joke.
Yeah, they're good.
But there's not even any good fat jokes in this other than any of the ones that Tony does. And even his were way more, they didn't seem super harsh to me.
No.
I'm telling you, I've heard way harsher. I did still like this movie overall. I still liked it. But when I was a kid, I loved this movie.
I don't know. I just feel like like I said, once Tony leaves, the movie's end, because I don't think it knows what it looking back on it, I don't think it knows which direction it wants to go into.
Yeah.
Like, is it more about the kids overcoming Camp MVP, or is it more about the kids and their fight against Tony?
Yeah, the fight against Tony seems more important in this movie. They do set up that Camp MVP is constantly trying to they would come over to the camp and mess up the camp. They would do it all the time.
Spray paint fat and stuff like that.
Yeah. Which, I hate to tell you, if you're a fat kid, you're very used to that.
Yeah,
that's not, you don't care.
Come up with something better. Let's
yeah. Yeah, if you're gonna insult me, like, be original at least come up with something else. But yeah. All right, important question here. Andrew, which one of these fat kids would you be?
Which one of just the fat kids?
Well, you could be any character, but I'm assuming we're both gonna be a fat kid.
If I was in like my Marine Corps shape, I'd be Tony Perkis. Because I don't know, I just think that character's fun, and I think he carried the movie.
Yeah.
Out of the fat kids, I think I'd be Roy. I like Roy Kenan Thompson. He was probably my favorite one of the kids. He wasn't over. I don't know. A lot of it seem like I'm just over fat. Like, I'm just gonna play up this. I love to shove my face full of food,
and he didn't really do that. Yeah,
no, he just played a fat kid.
Yeah,
he did it well.
I agree. Yeah, I would probably pick the same, but for the overall, I'd probably want to be Lars because I think he was pretty fun.
That would be a great one.
Yeah. All right. Let's rate this out of fat kids. How many fat kids would you give this?
Jeez. I'm gonna do my split again. Where
okay.
As a kid, I would have probably given this a 4 fat. So bad. I'm glad you said this. 4 fat kids out of 5.
I was a fat kid. I can say these things.
I was a fat kid too until I joined the Marines, and then they don't like fat kids in the Marines. As an adult just watching this, I probably gotta go 3.5.
This is insane. All right. I am not kidding. I actually had this written down. Today I would give us 3.5 out of 5 fat kids.
Yeah.
I'm going to agree with you that if you'd asked me this when I was a kid, this movie was like a 4 or 4.5.
Oh,
all day long.
It was a great movie as a kid, but like I said, as an adult, I don't know.
As an adult, it really drags. And here's my other part I was going to say. My little cousin was here.
Yeah.
And this movie did not hold his attention whatsoever. He would come in from little parts of it, but then he would go right back to like wanting to look at his phone or whatever and watching like YouTube videos because those were way more. And he kept asking me how much longer was this movie. So, and it's not a super long film. It's like an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's right around our time, but I don't know. There's just too much. Like I said, can I get a different cut where it just ends right after Tony?
Yeah,
or we get more of a story with Tony.
I agree.
Because the camp MVP was the ending thing to it, but it seemed like such the secondary story throughout.
Yeah, it was a B story for sure. And they could have like had a little different ending to that where, I mean, they sort of did it where they took the motor off their boat.
Yeah.
Like you could have ended it there and be like, well, they got a little bit of revenge there.
But there was nothing. There was just that one softball game.
Because also
and the stupid sneak attack little parts there.
They throw away the trophy, so obviously that did not matter to them. I don't think at any point in this whole movie do they ever say that they care to beat the MVP guys. They don't really overall. I don't feel like they remotely care.
No, they just.
I mean, you would get tired of somebody constantly picking on you. That's obvious. Anybody would get tired of that. But overall, I think they really, truly just don't care.
Wonder if there would be a better ending. Okay, so camp MVP. That's the secondary story. Tony's father comes in. Same thing. Comes in, takes him away. He's like, "Oh my goodness, I got this camp. I don't know what to do." And they like all of a sudden sell it back to the original owners.
Yeah.
Like that would have been better. Like, or he lets them run it and he just is like, listen, you guys ran it so good. Just we're gonna leave it at the original owners or sell them back to them like pennies on the dollar type thing.
And we also forgot to mention that Tony's dad is also played by Ben Stiller.
Yes. I liked it. It was good. He did a good job.
Yeah.
He was. I know a lot of people don't like Ben Stiller, but
I'm not one of. I like Ben Stiller myself. I think he's great.
I remember watching the Ben Stiller show when
yes,
like him,
yes,
and Dick and Janine Garofalo, and I can't remember who else. And I used to love it when he would play Eddie Munster. Yes. I loved the whole Eddie Munster. I don't remember too much about that show, but I just remember when he would play Andy Munster.
Yeah,
or Eddie Munster. It was great, but I liked him as his dad. I thought it was funny.
And Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller is the reason to watch this.
Yeah, I would definitely say because
as an adult, he's a reason to give this a watch.
And if you like Dodgeball, you'll see the beginning of that.
Yes,
global character in there where he took it.
Great comparison. This is almost like the prequel.
Yes,
of that character for Dodgeball.
Yeah, because they should have just named. Oh no, they probably couldn't because of like copyright things.
Yeah, and it's Disney. Disney's very
I'm good at.
Yeah, you don't want to name your movies and don't name your movies the same way back.
There was an extra way in there. It was the way back.
That's so confusing.
You're looking at the way back.
That's so confusing.
There's an extra way.
Yeah,
got Ben Affleck. The others got Steve Carell and Sam Rockwell.
Which Ben Affleck is fine, but I'm a giant Steve Carell fan, so
I don't know if you're gonna like this one. Then
I don't know. I don't think I've seen it, and I've seen most Steve Carell movies. I like Sam Rockwell too, but I don't think I've seen it way back.
I'll talk more after.
I definitely saw Little Miss Sunshine. I love that movie.
But I would say that is it for heavyweights. I'm a little hungry for salami and an oversized sandwich.
Yeah, thanks for listening to us. We appreciate each and every one of you. Make sure you go to our social medias on Facebook and Instagram. Andrew does a phenomenal job of constantly putting stuff over there on the Nostalgia Funhouse social media pages.
Yes, and if you like what we do, we're on Patreon, and also leave us if you just want to leave us a review. That would be awesome as well. I know Johnny talks about Ninja Turtle lots and talking animals, but hey, still leave us a good review. And I know I kind of babble sometimes, but with that being said, what may not be nostalgia for you may be nostalgia for some.
And I give this episode 2 out of 2 fat podcast hosts.